It's the World Series of Sim Racing here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
No contact.
And some contact. Holds on for now. It's Vincent Sora. Colley's going to be able to hold on. 3 wide, 2 wide. Ryan Bird trying to be the hero. He'll door smack once again in the center of the corner. Figure out how to get out of the way. Vinny ranks up. He ranks up across the line. The 15 wins. One last chance. One last opportunity. He's digging. He's climbing. He's right on the bumper. Blocking going to be made. Will there be contact? Here comes Thompson. Check on the outside. We're going to be blocked, defended. Brian Johnson, O'Brien will win. Here comes Vincent Sword to the inside, but it's not enough. Brian Johnson wins, and it's going to be the 13th trying his best. He'll hold on, or will he cross the line? It's Cedric Hunter by a nose. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Wednesday night. Tonight, we give you the coverage of the WSSR Cup Series, and what a crucial time of the season it is to be joining us here on Freaky Fast, because the WSSR tonight is the penultimate race of the regular season, the second to last race to figure out who will be the 16 drivers that will race for the Season 9 championship. We got a couple of drivers that are pretty solidified on where they're at, but the bubble driver spots are still pretty wide open. And tonight, we head to a wide open track as well as we tackle the Lariat Productions Grand Prix at Le Mans. Tonight, we get to race at one of the biggest tracks that you could possibly take yourself to, and WSSR's done this race before. It's had dramatic finishes in the past, but tonight, it might be a completely different story. We're excited to give you all the coverage again here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer, and joining me on the call here tonight is going to be Justin Malarkey. Justin, we came off of last week at Chicagoland, got to see John Forbes grab himself a win here in the WSSR, but tonight, 8.5 miles, a road course, and it's our third one of the season that these drivers get to handle.
Third road course, like you mentioned, but this one's definitely very unique compared to all the other road courses that we've been out there racing on this season. Like you said, over 8 miles, turns everywhere. It's going to be really fun to watch this race, and I'm excited. I'm kind of not sure how much I know about this type of track, so I'm going to be learning tonight as we go on, and I'm really excited just to watch these drivers put on a great show as they've been doing all season long.
The Le Mans track, way more well known for the 24 hours event that they have for IMSA, and it's a special event, but NASCAR, the only time we've seen an actual Cup car race was actually last year during the 24 hours when Garage 56 tackled this track. And if you've been watching WSSR, we also ran this race once. It was almost 2 years ago, back during Season 5. When Zach Hall, Brian P. Johnson had an amazing duel between one another, and it was Zach that took away the victory. Tonight, though, we've seen some of those favorites from 2 years ago have strong practice runs, but there is one factor that is looking dominant. It's Gavin Rogers, winner of our Long Beach race earlier in the season, our first road course of the season. He looks to be just as dominant here tonight. Justin, looking at practice times, he's a 2.5 seconds faster than anyone else. The rest of the field is puzzled on where he's getting that incredible speed.
1.5 seconds times that by the 15-lap scheduled distance. I mean, Sam, you're talking about a pretty convincing chance to have a huge victory if you could keep it together, but as you know, road courses, very easy to get off track, slip through the grass, the dirt, clip the wall. Don't want to have any mistakes tonight if you want to have a chance to win. So still, it'll be a really exciting race. And one of those races that even on the last lap, you can't rule anything out. You never know.
Absolutely not. It came down to just being 3 3/10 of a second between Zach Hall and Brian Johnson during that last race that they ran here 2 years ago. But tonight, qualifying could be just as important. We have about 35 drivers expected to race here this evening. If they all 35 that have registered hit the track. But starting off in qualifying, you see the 38 machine of Christopher Norris enters tonight 26th in points. But looking at all the other bubble drivers around him, he is looking leaps and beyond faster than all of them. This is an important race for Christopher Norris. He needs to perform if he wants a chance to maybe steal one of those last spots to make it into the playoffs.
Cool. Tonight would be the perfect chance to do that. Got to get max points, and we'll be talking about the stage. The stage is going to be on lap 5 tonight. We'll be talking about drivers. How will they play that strategy? We're assuming most drivers will just wait, try and stay out there and get the stage points if they're in that spot. But other drivers who can't get it, maybe they'll try and pit a little earlier, avoid traffic. We'll be talking about that tonight. Trying to get any spots they can because, as all you know, it comes down to the points at the end of the season. Want to make sure you're in it to go for the final playoff run.
As we're seeing Christopher Norris hitting the long backstretch, this is the Millstone straightaway. Have 2 chicanes you have to go through on this straightaway. This is the actual France roads that we race on the backstretch. There's sections of this course that are actually paved for racing and racetracks only, and then the Millstone Straight is the only part of this track that is actually a current road that people drive in the day-to-day, besides when they cut it off for race time. And Christopher Norris, Justin, talking about, the factors of how important this race is. We know it's very important, but this racetrack, 8.5 miles in distance. Most road courses we go to around 2 miles, 2.5 miles in distance. This race, much longer, and those races usually a minute to almost 2 minutes in length. A lap around here at Le Mans for around 4 minutes, a little bit less than 4 minutes. Some of our fast drivers will place down.
Being 4 minutes, this just means you've got 15 laps. I mean, it sounds like not a lot of laps, but like you said, 4 minutes. You're going to be out there so long, and these tracks, you can't make any type of error. I'm excited to see what happens down that long back straightaway like you were talking about there, because you got those 2 chicanes that'll make it fun, but drafting, is drafting going to become a big issue here? Or drivers going to get a big run and make some crazy dive bomb passes going into the turns? And this could be really exciting to watch.
It certainly can be. Now, Christopher Norris has gone through our first 2 sectors, now entering what's known as the third and final sector. This is the more technical side of the racetrack that these drivers are going to be handling with. Now, Christopher Norris is still on his warm-up lap. He's not even started one of those laps that he's really focusing on. For a lot of these drivers, they're going to mess up most likely on their first lap. If you go off track, touch the grass, hit a curb wrong, you can get yourself in trouble as Christopher Norris gets through the Indianapolis corner. Probably one of the funnest corners to watch with the amount of banking there is. And then a final right-hander before we go to one of the more famous sections of this course and the most tightest. It's the Porsche curbs that we're going to be heading into. You see that big Porsche sign, so all the drivers know which sector they're entering into. This is a lot more of a narrow aspect of the track where if you make any bad moves, you could ruin your night, most likely in this section of all of them so far.
Definitely don't want to ruin your night in any sector at all. But you said we're in the final third of this track right now that they're entering. So I'm thinking these drivers, they're not going to be easy to see. It looks like he got up there into the wall a little bit potentially. So they're only going to get 1 lap, if I'm correct, right? 1 lap qualifying?
They're going to get 1, potentially 2 if they're fast enough. I was actually re-looking at it. The drivers do get their first lap. They actually start behind the start-finish line in the what we call Ford chicanes. See that Ford sign? That's the Ford chicanes. There's 2 major chicanes that you deal with. So you start behind that spot when you start qualifying. So technically, actually, Christopher Norris was on his first lap, but because he hit the wall, that will invalidate his time. And a lot of drivers have been struggling on their first lap. Some drivers have already started their second after restarting on their first after a major mistake. And here comes some of those times rolling in. First time is going to be Zach Hall, then Aaron Smith the second. But again, the main driver of focus is going to be Gavin Rogers in the 75. He is the fastest driver from practice. Wait and see how fast he can put down, but current pull time, 4 minutes, 0.349 seconds for that of going to be the 70 machine of Aaron Smith the second. Gavin Rogers, though, crossing the line after getting past those chicanes. Going to be a 4 minute and 5 second, a little bit of a slower time, but the times will ramp up on the second lap when they have more heat on these tires.
Oh, that'd be really curious to see if he's able to pick up 5.5 some seconds to get there into the front row right now, being held down by Aaron Smith. Look at this, we're on board. Get over those rumble strips. It'll give you a really good view. Almost can't even see the corner coming up there as you go down into the turn. Kind of had that little, like Sonoma, it reminds me of that road course down in there in turns 1 and 2, where you're kind of going up, looking up into the sky a little bit. You got a lot of elevation changes here. Get back on those rumble strips, back to the gas. Gonna fly through here, take another right-hand turn.
It's now going through the last couple of bends before we hit that Mulsanne straight. Again, this long straightaway, these drivers are ramping up their speeds close to almost 200 miles per hour at their fastest when you're flying down these straightaways. As Gavin Rogers up to about 190 currently, almost hitting 200 miles per hour, and he will now for the 75. He's now hit 201 before he slams on the brakes and goes into this first chicane. I mean, the wicked speed that we're seeing, with the fact that we're not at a technically super speedway track, there are no restrictor plates. Justin, this is why these drivers are able to go this fast.
Yeah, this makes it really fun seeing someone hit 201 miles an hour on a track where you know you're not going to have a lot of banking or a somewhat not so sharp turn. That turn was pretty aggressive that he took. It kind of looked like a Watkins Glen style track where you get off, make that right, and then you're going right back to the left before you know it. And right here, you're going to do the opposite now. He's going to do the left and then to the right, hitting those rumble strips, trying to carry the speed. And then right here, I guess the most important thing you want to make sure is not going too much over those rumble strips. Will drivers be getting those penalties if they get too far over those rumble strips on this type of track?
I mean, they could get penalties. There are multiple different sectors and sections of this track. When you exit, or if you accidentally cut a corner, you can get yield penalties, which are technically half black flags that are given to drivers. You must slow down your pace to a certain amount of time and delta before you get yourself a black flag if you don't slow down enough. As through the Mulsanne corner, and now heading through this straightaway, going to be making a little bit of kink into Indianapolis again. This is probably my favorite corner of the whole entire track, is heading towards this Indianapolis corner, just because of the amount of banking. But I've seen plenty of times drivers locking up in this part of the track, and you're also seeing a little bit of bouncing. That's happened a lot more on the Mulsanne straightaway that we saw earlier before the corner. But here we go, hitting those corners, hitting the rumble strips, trying to find a way to straighten out this vehicle, and then a hard exit out. And you see that gravel on the exit. You don't want to go out there. Gravel is never your friend when you're in a race car.
No, if you want to lose traction fast, gravel's probably the best way to do it. And look at this. Is this the sector 3? We saw the Porsche sign letting drivers know they're hitting that back third of the track. I mean, he's at 3 minutes right now, so he's got to be able to complete this in the next minute to knock off Aaron Smith, who's still on the pole at the 4-minute 3.49. Look, I mean, look how close Zach Hall and Aaron Smith are. I mean, even though this is over an 8-mile track, it's just pretty impressive that these drivers are able to run so close together in time.
And I'm looking at some of the predicted times. Zach Hall is looking close. He could be the first driver that could try to tackle and top the board over Aaron Smith the second. Also, Gavin Rogers looking quick. They're going to be very close on times. And Zach Hall gets underneath the 4-minute time. He will top the board currently. Christopher Norris will bounce up to 4th. But Gavin Rogers trying to find that little bit of extra speed through these final couple of chicanes. And he's predicted to be the faster driver, but that's if he can get cleanly through these chicanes. Here's the first couple that he has to deal with, the final chicane before the straightaway. And for Gavin Rogers, he hit his marks, and across the line, it's a quick one, and it's fast enough for the top of the board. Gavin Rogers takes the pole, over a second faster than Zach Hall.
That is super impressive. 358.8, like you said, a full second, actually a little bit more than Zach Hall. We saw Zach Hall run really fast at Daytona, so we know he can get it done. That was an impressive lap by Gavin Rogers. I mean, he seems to be the driver who loves to get these poles this season.
He has been the main driver that's done it all throughout this season. He's gotten 4 so far and looking to grab number 5 of the season. I mean, he certainly has been the fast driver when it comes to the road courses. Gavin Rogers already proved that back at Long Beach when he dominated that race. And it was only when mistakes happened that it gave a chance of kind of a new breath of life for Vincent Sorter in that race. Here tonight, there has to be a catastrophic error that happens for Gavin Rogers if he's going to fumble this win away. But after that 10 minutes qualifying is done and dusted, we are now entering our warm-up period. Drivers, if they have a certain sector of the track that they need to figure out, They've got 5 minutes to try to do so. Better get out there on track as quick as possible. But for us up at the booth, it gives us time to take a closer picture of how the season's been going so far. We're going to start things off by taking a look at our point standings entering tonight. Now, the point standings are interesting when we talk about how they've been running this season. There is a drop race, meaning that there is a race that your lowest finish of all the races that you have shown up for will be dropped from this season. So if you have one bad race, but the rest have been very consistent, you can be climbing up in the point standings. So these points could shift dramatically if your last race was a really poor one. But the big focus, 16th in points. You have Brian McCann, Cody Reed 17th, and practically everyone inside of our top 28 still, if they have a great performance here tonight, have a solid chance of getting in. But Cody Reed, was talking to him, he's hoping for Brian McCann to have an absolute terrible race so he can sneak into our top 16. But on top of the board, Vincent Sora, he's been Mr. Consistent with his 2 wins and still rides there now.
AC got the 2 wins, 433 points, 13 up on Zach Hall. But tonight you'll have to try to make sure he's able to keep those drivers behind him and keep that point lead going. But got to go back to talk about the 17th place battle right there. Cody Reed, 264 points. Brian McCann, 274. That's a 10-point difference. Cody Reed's going to be trying to see if he could hopefully get some stage points or just finish 5, 6, 7 spots ahead of Brian McCann. And then they got to worry about Bristol next week. But I tell you what, it'd be scary going into Bristol, not being locked into that top 16, because at Bristol, you just don't know what can happen next week.
You absolutely don't, and it's going to be very critical on how next week performs. As we take a look at how our future schedule looks like, and also how the past couple of races have been ran throughout this season. We have Bristol into next week. It'll be the last race of the regular season before we enter the playoffs. It's going to be a 3-round playoff circuit that we go into. It's going to be our top 16, then going to be our top 11 before the final championship round, where we will see our top 6 drivers trying to race it through North Wilkesboro and Las Vegas to see who will win the Season 9 championship. So many headlines throughout the rest of this season, but I think for John Forbes, our winner from last week, he's just happy to get that win. Now, for sure, locked into the playoffs, and the rest of the field understanding, okay, we've got tonight, we have tomorrow. This is going to be very important on how well you can run.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you're just talking about that schedule right here, being at the road course tonight, 8.5 miles, but going to the little tiny track next week. I mean, you're putting these drivers under a very diverse style of tracks. But then you go to Talladega. You kidding me? Talladega for the first round of the playoffs? I mean, you could be running really good coming out of the final corner. You know what can happen in Talladega. Anyone who watches will understand how important that race will be to make sure you get a solid finish. And then going to Darlington. Wow. I mean, that's an opening round right there, Talladega and Darlington. Darlington, a track you could easily get up into the wall and ruin your night. So I'm excited for these next couple races. This is going to be a really fun end of the season and going into the playoffs.
It certainly will be, as we're now going to look at our pick'ems. Who are drivers that we think are going to be big focuses here tonight, maybe underdogs, or our favorite picks of who can maybe win this race. We'll start with my pick. I went with the obvious one. I went with Gavin Rogers. We saw how well he dominated at Long Beach, but he did have some simple mistakes. Here tonight, he's going to have the speed that can keep him up front, but those mistakes, how massive will they be here this evening? Or can he keep it all together from the start of the race to the end? That's going to be the big question. We'll send it over to you, Justin. Who is your driver that you feel like to watch out for?
All right. Where you got Gavin Rogers down? I'm going Brian P. Johnson. You were talking about how he was really fast in practice, and he had that great battle last year with Zach Hall. Brian P. Johnson, he's going to be getting it done. I'm excited to watch him come to the front, draft up, get around the 75, maybe on that back straightaway on the first lap, potentially.
You have to use every little bit of this track. And then also our producer for every race that we cover, another driver of note, Christopher Norris is going to be the pick for Robert Miller Jr., our producer here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. And honestly, all 3 very diverse picks. I think it's one of the first times we really picked all completely different teams. We're usually collaborating with one team that looks to be the dominant one for a night. But that looks to be our pick'ems for this evening. I want to say thank you so much for tonight's race and for everyone that's joining with us here on your Wednesday night for the WSSR Cup Series. Again, this is the second to last race before the regular season concludes, and we head into our 6-race playoff system. It's going to be a fun one. But if you're here tonight, getting prepared to take a look at our starting grid here very shortly. Warm-up's just finished. Qualifying is finished as well. Same for practice. All that's left here at Le Mans is 15 laps to see who will be the winner here tonight for race number 11. We do have a stage break here this evening, going to be at the end of lap 5, but there will be no caution thrown at that stage break. We will also have 4 extra sets of tires in pit road if they decide to do so, and the fuel window we were given was around 9 to 10 laps. But it's time to take a look at our starting grid here tonight for the Lariat Productions Grand Prix at Le Mans. Taking the pole for the 5th time this season, it's the 75 of Gavin Rogers, the fast man, one to look out for. Second place is going to be Zach Hall, winner of this race 2 years ago. Vincent Sora, been quick at most of the road courses we go to. He's going to be starting in 3rd position. Aaron Smith II, consistent at road courses as well. He'll start in 4th. Drew Jua, 15th in points, and wants to continue on that great pace. He'll start in 5th. 6th is Christopher Norris. Trent Jump lines up in 7th. Edward Sherwood Jr., 8th. 9th is Nick Crawford, and finishing out our top 10, it's the 26th at Thompson Check.
And going into the next row, P11, going to be Larry Yingling. We know he's fast. And then P12, I'm expecting this driver to make big moves up to the front. Brian P. Johnson, Brian Noel in 13th, Cedric Hunter 14th, Chris Stitz back there in 15th alongside Ryan Kelly in 16th, Joshua Kanata in 17th, and Jared Hughes qualifying 18th in the number 68 machine. 19th going to be Shane Carrion on that controller. We will talk about him at one point tonight. Always that one driver with the controller. Brian McCann in 20th position.
And 21st, driver of the 56 is going to be Richard Wilson, who's also running a special Garage 56 machine here tonight. 22nd position, it's the 24 of Ali Fonseca, and also in 23rd, it's the 12 of Andrew Medlin. 24th, we find the 14 of GT Irizarry. Our winner from last week will start in 25th of John Forbes Jr. Douglas Newbegin, if he needs to have some solid runs here tonight to get back into the points fight, he'll start in 26th position. Cody Reed, 17th in points, he'll start in 27th position. Danny Cochran will start only back in 28th position for the 2 machine, starting here tonight with a penalty after what B&B intentional wrecking. Tom Bourne will be sent to the end of the line for the 06 to start tonight's race, but he qualified 29th. Carl Pooler will be starting in 30th. 31st is Ryan Ferraro. Matthew Rodriguez will be in 32nd, Bronson Stafford 33rd, Tyler Dangler 34th, and finishing out our 35th driver here tonight is Justin Forbes. A couple of drivers decided to start in pit road. Watch out for Tyler Dangler, who usually does these types of strategies, and Tom Bourne will actually have to go again, drop to the end of the line after his incident last week at Chicagoland. The drivers are in a pace mode. They're about to be getting ready to go green, but Justin, any final thoughts before we get these 34 drivers taking off from tonight's race?
Well, I'm curious to see the strategy behind Tyler Dangler starting from pit road. Is he thinking there's going to be some chaos on these first few turns and he's going to come out and avoid it all? Could be a good strategy play, you never know. But I think it'll be exciting when they hit that back straightaway. I really want to see these cars, if they're still somewhat close to each other, how that draft works. If anyone's able to get around the 75, they got to feel like they got to do it on the first lap. I'm thinking they got to maybe utilize that draft and try and make a move because they know he's got about a good second and a half each lap. They don't want him to be out there 30, 40 seconds ahead at the end of this thing. So they're going to be trying hard, I think, and that's going to be really fun to watch here in this opening lap.
8.5 miles, 38 corners, and tonight we get prepared to race in France. It's Gavin Rogers, Zach Hall, your front row, as they get prepared for this race. I know Zach Hall, he was the driver that, an admin that worked on the setup that these drivers are racing on here tonight, so he had that sled advantage. Gavin Rogers didn't get the track until last week and has been practicing throughout the week, trying to make sure he had the fastest car here, and that practice has been rewarded to be one of the fastest machines out on track. But as we are setting up to go green, again, it's the 75 Gavin Rogers, Zach Hall going to be up front, Vincent Sora 3rd, Aaron Smith 2nd, 4th, and Drew Jua going to be your 5th place driver. Everyone recognizing this is a critical race for those that are outside of the top 16 in points. You need to either finish high inside of our top 15 positions here tonight, or hope that someone makes a mistake and gives you a position for tonight's race during the stage. Get some bonus points that way. But for the drivers up front, They're getting prepared. They're getting ready. The Porsche's about to drive off into pit road, giving it into the hands of the 75 of Gavin Rogers. The Lariat Productions Grand Prix at Le Mans is underway. Some of the drivers are getting started back in the chicane, but up front, it's the 75 of Gavin Rogers sending it down into the corner as we get ourselves prepared for tonight's race. 15 laps. That seems short, but it's 8.5 miles around each corner. I mean, each lap that we run here as the first corner is underway.
And Zach Hall's just going to try and run right down to 75, stay with him, come out of the corner, but not just able to do it. Look at the gap at 75. Gavin Rogers starting to get as you see some side-by-side battling right here as Shearer Jr. going to tuck right in behind. Looks like that's the 46 of Trenton Jump. Look at this, like a snake going through here through these S-turns. All these drivers getting ready to hit these long straightaways though, coming up.
Getting in line as best as you can as the drivers up front are hitting their marks. Drivers on back have been struggling for some already before you even hit the long back straightaway. Joshua Canada with a big loss of time, as well as Matthew Rodriguez and Bronson Stafford. But we're seeing some of the battling as the draft has become a factor already early on, as seeing the battling back and forth. Andrew Medlin, as well as the 7 of Douglas Newbigging, got to make the decision to stay side by side into the first chicane here on the Monson Straight, as it's going to be a majority of these drivers. They're willing to stick with it, a little lock up ahead of the battle we were watching as they snake their way through the S's. And oh no, Trent Jump issues. Got off of the first chicane, the 46 spun around, loss of over 8 positions and more. Same for GT Rizari, as you see the 46 ramping up to his speed as our leaders are hitting the second chicane for themselves.
Not what you want to see out of the 46 machine or the 14 right there. Look at this right here. Gavin Rogers, I mean, he's got a second lead already on these drivers. He's just pulling away. They didn't even have a chance through that first set of the turns there. I thought maybe if they could stay with him on the draft, there'd be a move. They just got through those opening corners really good. You see another puff of smoke as the drivers come through these turns. You get a great visualization. They're trying to set the cars up, get them pointed in the right direction. Just all the left-right turns. And these drivers, as you see, they're staying way over to the left and then swinging back to the right for that next corner. Just trying to get that angle. That's something we'll be talking about, using up all this track to get the perfect angles.
And going through the Monson corner, this is another hard-braking zone. The drivers have opportunities to try to make it pass as they make now the dashing straightaway as they're setting up for the Indianapolis corner. And again, each lap about 4 minutes in length. This race is expected to be a little bit over an hour in distance. So based off our other races, this is going to be one on the shorter end, so you cannot afford to make any big mistakes. As we look back from the bumper of Gavin Rogers, they just keep on getting smaller and smaller as we go through our corner here at Indianapolis.
As you see right here, well, actually, we're going to switch right here to the 77 coming out of the corner. Just I'm riding on board. This will give us a great viewpoint of what these drivers need to do. And you see the different angles of entry in the corner. You see this, he got close to the 70. Drew got close to Aaron Smith there, but coming out of the corner, Aaron Smith kind of just pulled him. Now will the draft help bring him back to the next heavy braking zone? It's going to be a constant battle tonight on how those drivers attack this track, but it's neat for me just to see on board right here and try and learn, see how these drivers are tackling this track. I mean, there's not a lot of room for error. You get close to that grass, you don't want to clip it too much soon.
No, you do not, and already major troubles for a couple of the drivers here tonight. Danny Cochran goes off track after Indianapolis. Douglas Newbigging going into Indianapolis found himself nosing his way in. Also for Matthew Rodriguez, trouble. And for Douglas Newbigging, he took the tow, had to go to pit road, required damage for the 7. Douglas Newbigging's chances for the playoffs might be sent going into to see the 7 there, smashing the tire wall. But then Danny Cochran fighting with Andrew Medlin, just misses his braking zone, has to go into the grass, and Trent Jump, scaves away as the 2 slightly taps the tire barrier. Is going to continue to race on. But the big loser, Douglas Newbigging, his race is over.
Hey, you saw that incident on Douglas Newbigging at the top of the screen when we were watching a replay of the number 2, Danny Cochran. I mean, he missed the corner like you said, and he didn't get a chance to save it though like the 2 did. He just kind of went right off into the wall and had to take the tow like you said. The points, all those points he lost. He was in 17th. He had the 2-race suspension. I mean, his season went from starting out like a bright spot. I just keep going back to that Michigan race. Thought he was going to win that race and wasn't able to get away with the win. And ever since then, it seems like the bad luck has just been coming at him every race.
It certainly has been a falling apart situation. for the 7 Douglas Newbigging, as he really did need to have just a perfect season from here on out, and now might be in a must-win scenario heading into next week at Bristol for the last race of the regular season. Seeing some other drivers out on course. This is a battle going on for 12th place. Former teammates from Lucky Ducks. Still on Lucky Ducks is the 07 of Brian Noel and Cedric Hunter, now racing a part of the Snowy Desert Racing team, making the battle lean for 12th position as they're going onto the straightaway and trying to utilize that draft. You can see the miles per hour in the draft hitting 203 miles per hour before they slam on the brakes all the way down almost 65 miles per hour. That is a huge trust in your brakes that they're gonna work and that you hit the right braking spot.
And it's a huge trust also when you're out there. You get this view right here, Sam. You really can't see too much in front of you. It's not like when we're watching from different angles. We can say, okay, the turn's coming up, let's slow down. I mean, you got to make sure you're on your toes. You miss your braking point, you're going to be in a rear bumper of the car in front of you. So people are trusting the guy behind to make sure that they're paying attention to the signs and knowing where to start breaking down. You see right there, it kind of was counting you down 300, 200, 100, but those signs aren't on every single turn. So you really got to make sure you pay attention. As you see right here, Cedric Hunter might be getting around the 74 machine.
And Nick Crawford has been falling like a rock. Same with, again, Trenton Jump's issue that he had on lap 1, costing on positions. As we don't have the lap 1, 2, we have laps to go. It's going to be when it's 10 laps to go, 11 heading towards 10. That will be our stage break for the field. Top 10 drivers will get bonus points, and currently the battle for that 10th place position not really looking like a true battle right now, as Larry Yingling's got a little bit of spacing between himself and the 74 of Nick Crawford, who's lost 2 positions. And you see the battle on screen between the 74 and the 13. Behind them, having a little bit of duel, Ryan Kelly, who's trying to make his charge forward, as well as probably my favorite scheme, besides the 56 garage scheme. It's the Dales. It's the Dale Sr., Dale Jr. mashup from Brian McCann in the 8 machine, as he's got John Forbes Jr. right on that back bumper as they go into Indianapolis. And you see the 8 drifting up, as well as the 11 get into the gravel. That's going to give a position away potentially for Shane Terrian, who has to back out of it before the next quick corner.
Forbes got a little lock up right there too, but I mean, that's impressive. You saw how loose and sideways the car got. He was able to grab the steering wheel, keep it under control. That was impressive, because that easily could have just ended the night too. I mean, just a little...
Huge trouble at Indianapolis. It's the 25 as well as the 24 getting into one another, slamming into the corner between one another. Big loss of positions as Ali Fonseca now loses over 6 positions now because we've gone green.
And losing position and timing, you see right here on the replay. Looks like, see what exactly happens here. Let it play out for a second.
Ali Fonseca just flying into the corner, doesn't have any time to slow down, and he'll come careening down, and multiple drivers missing the corner. Just too much speed. I don't think a lot of these drivers predicted how fast the draft was going to pull them into these corners, and they are flying without any chance to try to slow down.
Well, and Ali Fonseca was really close to hitting the tire barriers with the rear of that car as it swung around. Luckily for him, he did not. So he was able to not have a tow, which could have really been ending his night. At least he's able to stay out there and continue. Right here, you see the battle, 28th and 27th position. These drivers, right now, their goal, they got to just stay on the track. I mean, if other drivers have problems, there's positions you can pick up, and you say that, look at Ali Fonseca just driving the wheels off that car all the way out, using all that runoff area.
And as well as a couple of other battles that are going on screen in front of them. Trouble strikes in 26th position. You see the 12 machine, that's Andrew Medlin, who gets a little bit swirly off the exit of the corner, just gets too much throttle, is splitting through the middle. It's going to be the 19 as Matthew Rodriguez doing some burnouts behind after his spin. But Tyler Dangler with a dashing move. He started on the pits, remember, and he's already up to 26th.
It worked out really good for him. He's got that strategy down. I was interested in seeing what happened with the 19 and his strategy play we talked about at the top of the show. I mean, he kind of gave himself maybe a free, clear track. He didn't have to worry about having the pressure of all these drivers around him. It seems to work out for him, Sam. I mean, he's up to 19th, like you said.
It's worked out perfectly still, battling side by side. Our friends, Ali Fonseca, Cody Reed for 27th position. Other great battles that are happening on screen. A lot of clusters in the middle of the pack, but the battle for 17th is looking good, as well as on-screen battling for 10th place between Larry Yingling and Nick Crawford. As Larry Yingling is on the chart, he's up just 1 position, but honestly, with the amount of back and forth we've seen from a couple of these drivers, You have one position, is meaning you're staying on track as Nick Crawford tries to take one of those spots back.
And the most important thing, like you said, stay on track. We have battles all over the track. It's just amazing we're being able to capture all these and talk about it all. Just want to be mindful up front. Still, Gavin Rogers leading. It was 1.8 seconds. We'll talk about it. I'm sure it's going to change throughout the braking zones, but the lowest I saw right now, 1.483. So Zach Hall, even 2-3 laps into this race, he's able to stay with Gavin Rogers, not let him pull away. So we'll see how it works later on with tires, strategy, and most importantly, this fuel. Like you said, they can go about 9 to 10 laps. So making sure you have the calculation down on taking the least amount of fuel so you can get in and get out and maybe gain some time is going to be really important.
Eversel's 2 more laps before we are given. That's when it's at 11 to go. That will be the white flag before the stage is over. Top 10 drivers get those bonus points, and Nick Crawford, big pass to get inside of the top 10. Here's, again, a couple of other battles that are happening inside of our top 10. It's Edward Sherwood Jr. and Brian Johnson. Johnson, the driver who finished second during this race, and obviously had some surprising sneaky speed entering practice here tonight. Hasn't really found that same mojo that we saw 2 years ago, but again, the competition has raised so much. We knew there was going to be a mixture of different drivers that were going to be up front here tonight, from varying different degrees of how much time you put into practice, as well as just pure road course specialty and skills that these drivers have.
You said we've seen it all season. The amount of competition. We don't really know who's going to win these races each week because there's so many drivers at all these tracks that can get it done. And even tonight, Gavin Rogers is probably the heavy favorite, but still, he's got a lot of great, strong road course experts behind him. I mean, we just were at a road course not too long ago where Zach Hall just was driving through the field after he won and had to start last. He still drove up to the front and had a really solid finish. So we know these drivers can get it done. Vincent Sori right there, Christopher Norris, Aaron Smith, they're all staying right there. And I mean, they're still under 7 seconds. So a simple runoff by the leader, you can have all those drivers right back on.
Brian Johnson's been right on the back bumper and has to go to the inside. Give some spacing so you're able to slow down, as the drivers have been reminded of their stage. As Edward Sherwood Jr. goes too far over and will gift 1, maybe 2, possibly 3 positions away, with going over the rumble strips, hitting the turtle, and getting a yield penalty. He is forced to forced to yield. Also, another driver is forced to yield. Aaron Smith, the second in the yellow machine. He has to slow down for Johnson to go on by. He went over the rumble strips, wasn't able to slow down quick enough, and he has to give away multiple positions, and maybe even more, as the 70 is given a black flag. He has to go to pit road.
I was just wondering how that was going to work out. He was like not really on the track at all right there. I think he was trying to give up the time and didn't realize he was not really on the track. And unfortunately gets the black flag. That's terrible to see for him because he's still running inside the top 10 at the moment.
And he's most likely going to try to stay out, salvage these laps, and maybe keep 10th position, but that is troublesome for the 70 machine, who might not get bonus points here tonight. Also, update on drivers further back in the field have been having trouble. We already noted on Douglas Newbigging out of this race after his collision at the Indianapolis corner. Also, Matthew Rodriguez is going to be forced to pit road here very shortly, as he's got a required damage flag. And Ryan Ferraro has called it a night. And if you watched the 24 hours of Le Mans last year, well, the 56 of Richard Wolsifer was paying a little bit of homage to the 56 Garage team, bringing out the scheme, and he felt like competition, competitive-wise, he wasn't going to be there, but hey, right now, got to give kudos to Richard Wolsifer. He's staying on track. He's up 2 positions. He's being hunted and hounded right now, but 56, oh no, no, the commentator's curse. It's Richard. He spins on camera. He'll lose those 2 spots, and he's right back to where he qualified.
I can't believe it. The commentator curse. I have to also ask, the 9, he kind of to avoid that, I saw him go below those green cones there, so I'm just curious if he maybe got a couple second penalty on that yield, just trying to avoid the accident, but luckily no damage. So both of these drivers will continue, but wow, the commentator curse is real. We talk about him, something happens, we hate it, we don't mean it, but geez, maybe it's just Robert's so good at finding like battles to put on screen here, Sam. Maybe he just knows.
I can't put it on Robert. That's not me. I was cheering him on, saying he's doing a great job, and then he gets spun around. But other drivers of note, again, Aaron Smith the second still is yet to pit. He will have to pit because he has a black flag. But again, watching some of the other battles on course, here's GT Rosari Shane Terrian between one another. This is the battle for 19th and 20th position, as GT is doing his best to run this course as well as he can, as this course, it's so, I still can't get over how massive this course is, and the fact that the admins said, you know what, let's give this track another try. It gives us great action because there's so many pods of different battles going on, like we see here. You have Bronson Stafford, Ollie Fonseca, Tyler Dangler. This is the battle for 27th, and Ollie Fonseca, no front bumper, not needed. He'll send it down to the inside as they hard braking zone into the Mulsanne corner. One of the hardest corners to slow down for. They're able to do so. Dangler has to back out as he was given a yield penalty, so he'll lose touch to the battle that continues on as Cody Reed slowly being ran down by Bronson Stafford.
Love the no front bumper right there. Just keeping that car nice and cool on that straightaway. Doesn't have to worry about any overheating there, I'm assuming. I'm thinking that might have been in one of those accidents that we were watching before where seemed like he kind of got off course there, and I think it was actually right in this turn. I remember it being a high-speed right corner.
It was at the Indianapolis corner that you see the lock up, a little bit of a drift by the 61 of Bronson Stafford, and big thing to note as we see the weather mostly cloudy. That has been changing this racing surface from practice, qualifying, and even to the race. Its track temp's been as high as 117 degrees, and it's been as low as 94 degrees. Currently, we find ourselves on the low end at the 98 Fahrenheit window. Air temps around 79, and the wind not blowing too fast, so that means that the clouds, when they get over the track, they're staying there for a little bit longer than I think the drivers might be wanting. For some, for others, they're loving that little bit of extra grip.
For any of the fans out there who are maybe wondering if, whoa boy, Ollie Fonseca able to save it though. That's the important thing, able to keep it on track and not do any more damage to that car. Don't want to hit any walls with no front bumper, that could be bad. As he gets off course right here, way off course. Able to get back on though. Thought he was going to hit the sand trap. Luckily, able to keep it on. But I was saying, just to anyone wondering, they know road courses, the potential for rain. It's been confirmed that there would not be any rain tires, so no rain tonight, in case anyone's wondering when we were talking about the weather.
Weather conditions always change. We're waiting for whenever iRacing allows these Cup cars to race in the rain. I think that's going to be a fun factor whenever later on iRacing brings that to the Cup Series and oval racing, as they're seeing the battling going back and forth, third, fourth, and fifth on screen of Vincent Sora, Christopher Norris, Drew Jua, and this battle matters because for the likes of Christopher Norris, he wants all these points as much as possible. He's in that fight to try to get into the top 16 of points, and he's one of the furthest back that still has a chance. And we are on the white flag of the stage end of this lap. These drivers that are inside of the top 10 will grab bonus points, and it's about who crosses the line inside of our top 10 that it matters the most. Aaron Smith II still yet to pit. He is staying out and hoping to pit this lap, because if he goes another one, he will be disqualified. So the 70 machine is in a dire situation where he hopes not to be disqualified from this race, but he also wants to make sure he's inside of the top 10 at least to get those stage bonus points for this next second stage of the race happens.
He is in 9th spot right now, so he at least would obtain some points. But as one question I was wondering is, how long can you stay out with that black flag? I mean, it happened at lap 13, I believe, or they were coming to 12. So he's already done, I think, at least 2 laps. So we'll let him do one more.
I believe 3 is the max. I believe when you start the 3rd lap, that is the last one. But it is always a concerning thing when you are on that 2nd lap with a black flag because of the fact of how close it was to the stage. I think for Aaron Smith II, it's build a big enough lead so when you go into pit road, you keep at least 1 point if possible, as the drivers are going through Indianapolis corner, getting ready to go through the Porsche section. A lot of the field has been running smoothly, but the difference between 1st and 2nd has ballooned out a little bit more under these last 3 laps. It was, again, around that 1.5 second marker. Now kind of ballooned to over 3 seconds between Gavin Rogers and Zach Hall. And for Zach Hall, won this race, again, the only time that it's been ran in the past was back in season 5. Led every single lap over Brian Johnson. And for Zach, it kind of had a feeling maybe he had a chance until he saw Gavin Rogers' times, and it kind of turned into, well, let's just take 2nd if that's possible.
I mean, there's never anything wrong with second. That's always good. But he could still have a chance, Sam. And, pit road will be very important. I mean, maybe he just does the opposite of what Gavin Rogers does and hopes for the best. It's all going to come down to making sure you hit the pit box, get in there, carry the most speed, and try and gain as much time as you can. But 3 seconds under pit road, you can still make it up. The most important thing would be do not slide through that pit box.
You do not. As Gavin Rogers crosses the line, that will become your official stage winner is the 75 machine. Rest of the top 10 are now racing to see who will cross the line. Inside of the top 10, Drew Jua trying to make a late pass crossing the line, if possible, for himself. And now Christopher Norris also having a yield penalty on the last chicane, so he'll have to lose potentially 1 or more positions. But this will be your stage. I want to say you saw a little bit of blinking. That's our graphics just having a little bit of a hiccup there. But we're hoping that it will be cleared up and good from here on out. As technology, Justin, always fun when it decides to have a mind of its own during these races, and it's just up to us to try to salvage what we can from whenever things go hectic.
You never know when technology is just going to act crazy, like you said. But as we watch this race now, we are into that 33% of the distance of the way. We got 5 out of the 15 done, so we got 10 to go. And right now, Gavin Rogers, I mean, he's got to be loving what he's seeing. But, I mean, Zach Hall, he's right there. He's 4 seconds back. I mean, you can still see him in the frame as he's going to come in right now. So Gavin Rogers got to continue to hit his marks, make sure he does not mess up, have any issues, see how the pit road goes down. But right now, between these two drivers, I mean, they're only the top 2 right here that are under 5 seconds. You go back to 3rd place, you're talking 9 seconds for 3rd place. I mean, these 2 drivers up front, they're really putting on the show.
They certainly are putting on their own effort to put down the fast laps as they can, but this battle for 3rd has been incredible to watch between Vincent Sora, Drew Jua, and been seeing the build-up between the rivalry of Vincent Sora with Lucky Ducks. I know a majority for Vincent Sora, it's been the duel between himself and Edward Shore Jr. and Brian Noel, but seeing any Lucky Ducks around this 51 kind of gives you a little bit of nerves of how respectful will they race around one another. Was it just past races that they had their arguments? And it looks like for now, they're keeping it cordial, they're keeping it respectful, and it continues to give us a great show for this 3rd place battle.
While these 2 put on a great battle, when I look back into that 5th position, I mean, Brian P. Johnson, I believe he's qualified in 12th. Didn't have the qualifying effort down. We were expecting him to qualify up there in the top 3, top 4. But he's driving himself up there. I mean, he could have a chance to get up there inside that top 3. But unfortunately, with that qualifying effort, he's just starting so far back and losing so much time. Didn't really have a chance to be able to race up there with Zach and Gavin, who are right now the 2 drivers that are definitely the fastest. And obviously, 75 and Gavin Rogers being the king right now in this race, 5 laps into this distance.
Has been the fastest. Want to also give credit to Vincent Sora. We look at the fastest laps that have been ran. Majority of the field, it's 4 minutes or slower, has been their fastest lap in their first 5 laps of tonight's race. As Vincent Sora, as well as Drew Jua, have been able to put them, Vincent Sora, Zach Hall, and Gavin Rogers are the only drivers that have been able to be under a 4-minute time for their best lap. But a little bit of overdrive there, oversteer for the 51, giving an opportunity for the 77 to Drew Jewell to be on the outside. And this is a part of the race. We're driving side by side. It's such a risky move through the Porsche corners. You have to figure out who's backing off. How do you set up for this corner? Do you go for a switch back? And it looks like they'll keep it dive next to one another, hitting their marks, keeping it racy, and Drew Jua will take that position. I think that's the most safe way to go. Just give up the spot, let the driver race it out, and try to get him in the next time that we're in the long straightaway.
Exactly, you're going to be right on board here with Drew Jewett. You see down in 2nd gear, getting the car set. This will give us a great view. You can hear the rumble strips. Right there, you're going to hear the shift up into 3rd, but look at just going back to the left, straighten it out. You got to get ready for this next corner coming up. You see the signs that we were talking about, kind of letting those drivers know how far away they are from those next corners. Right here, you can just hear the tires squealing, how much they're really having to drive these cars. But right now, Drew Jewett kind of opened up a little gap over the car that just passed the 51, Vincent Sora.
Able to make the pass cleanly for themselves. Some other close racing action between drivers. Battling going on back in 15th and 14th position. John Forbes Jr. and also Brian McCann. They're going to try their fates to go side by side through the Ford chicanes, as this is a part of the racetrack that's at the very end. Also, drivers hitting pit road. It's going to be seen the Lucky Ducks drivers being the first to hit pit road. That's Aaron Smith the second, Edward Shore Jr., and Brian Noel hitting pit road. And for Aaron Smith the second, this is his final time hitting pit road. He was forced to pit road because of his black flag and had to get the service done. This go around and joining him are his friends and allies. But long service times, whoever takes tires could be hurting their race from here on out, as well as topping off on fuel. Who's just going to take a half a gallon, a half a tank, and who's taking a full tank of fuel is going to be a big question.
And that kind of leads me into a question. I feel like you have a little bit of the knowledge on these types of road courses and a fuel strategy, but really my big question would be, we always talk about tires on ovals. We want tires all the time. We feel like tires are always important. On here, we know they only did about 5 to 6 laps, but that's 8 miles. I mean, that's at a regular track that could be upwards of 40, 50 laps already. These drivers be screaming for tires. So why is it that the tires just seem to not to wear out on road courses? Is it just the way the pavement is, or is it just that they're not carrying that load in the corners so much as they are in the oval?
It's just the way the tires are in iRacing currently for the next gen car. The tires just don't wear. It's more of heat buildup that they deal with, and the tire wear is so minimal. It's more of you would have to do 40 laps here at Le Mans before you would really think about maybe taking tires. It's for some drivers, they wouldn't even take tires at that point because it's more about the tire heat. The tire wear is not that big of a discrepancy between each driver and each lap that you put down. So it's so odd. It's been a thing since the next gen cars came out a few years ago, was the fact that whenever you pit, you never had to take tires. And still to this day, even in real life NASCAR, sometimes they don't even take tires, or they wait until the very last pit stop to think about taking tires for themselves. As teammates for Snowy Desert Racing drivers, 6th and 7th position, Christopher Norris in the Grimace McDonald's machine, and Nick Crawford trying to run down that 38 for 6th position. Crawford been having a good recovery run. Again, had a couple of slip-ups under our first 2 laps, and now trying to make the charge to get inside of the top 5 if possible. He's got a lot of work to catch up to Brian Johnson, but it might be a 6th, 7th place position battle that he's aiming for here tonight.
And that's still going to be a really solid day. As you see right here, look at this 38. Did he get maybe a little off course, or was it the 74? I just felt like I heard a little bit of tire squeal. I mean, these drivers, it's interesting the different lines they carry to try to set themselves up for the entrance or the exit of these corners, because there's so many twists and turns to this type of road course that these drivers are sacrificing an entry maybe to have a better exit onto these long straightaways. And right now, you're seeing exactly how these drivers do it. As you see, Gear 3, 156 miles an hour already as they're going to get into another heavy braking point.
Trying to figure out how to slow down. A few drivers, though, have made the decision to come to pit road and fully fill up on fuel. Not take tires, just fill up on fuel. Being Edward Shore Jr. and Richard Wolsifer of the drivers that have pitted so far. And then also from Sky Motorsports, Bronson Stafford, Tom Bourne, when they made their pit stop, also took 4 tires, 4 freshies for themselves. Curious on how that might help the 06 and the 61 moving forward. As I was talking to some of the drivers that are been up front, Zach Hall, and most of Snowy Desert Racing, on their strategies of how they wanted to race this thing. And I was curious on if our feed is still going.
Okay, we are back. We apologize for the delay right there. I know some storms going on in the area. Just had a little bit of YouTube iRacing type issue. We are back though. Just to fill you guys in, Gavin Rogers with the lead. Zach Hall, 7.4 seconds back right now. But you saw on screen right when we came back, the 77 and Drew Jewett got off course there. It allowed Vincent Sora to get back by him, along with Brian P. Johnson, who now is up to 4th position. Drew Jewett slides back to 5th. Most importantly, though, did not sustain damage, able to continue going. Hopefully, he'll be able to continue to have a great finish, maybe even get back into the top 3. As this race is going to continue going on, we're now 7 laps in, a little bit past halfway. These drivers, they're going to be making pit stops up front. Expecting to see them hit pit road here really at any time in the next 2 to 3 laps. We're estimated that the max they can go is 9 to 10 laps on fuel. So really, we're expecting to see them this time by or next time by. Don't think anyone will want to risk going any further than that. We got 7 to go. Right here on board with the 32 machine. He still is able to see the 75 of Gavin Rogers. I mean, it's a long straightaway. He's just wishing he could get out there, try and get closer to him, not able to do it. As you see right here, those signs we were talking about, we're at the 300 mark, the 200 mark, the 100, letting Zach Hall know where he's got to get into this corner. Doing a nice job out there, but still over 7 seconds behind our leader, who's just been putting on a show tonight. Led all of the opening 8 laps. Maybe if Gavin Rogers pits here, Zach Hall can stay out, get a lap led. That would be his chance to get an extra bonus point. As we all know, these races come down to the bonus points accumulated throughout the season. Helps you do really well, get into that playoff spot. But Zach Hall, he's got the win, so he's good. Gavin Rogers, we know he's been good. He's got the poles and the wins this year. Vincent Sora, these drivers all doing great jobs up here in the top 3.
All right, I'm going to fill in until Sam get back here. So, yeah, what you're saying there, we see right now we're looking at Zach Hall, trying to run down Gavin Rogers. But from what we've seen in qualifying and practice there, I don't know. I don't know if Zach's going to have anything left for, Gavin Rogers there. But we come back here. We still got some battling going on back here with Cedric Hunter. It looks like, and we got Larry in front of him. I do believe that's who that is. If we look here, we'll see here as I gotta shuffle my stuff around here.
That is the 67, Larry Yingling up to 7th position. You mentioned Cedric Hunter though, there, Robert. I mean, he's a driver I feel every week we get to watch him come up through the field and give us excitement. He's just always solid, getting inside the top 10 it seems every race, no matter the track. Them battling for the top 5 positions. I mean, also he sometimes gets right up there and is leading these laps. I mean, he's doing a great job tonight. He's right behind that 67 of Larry Yingling that you mentioned.
Yeah, well, Cedric's road racing experience comes into play with this one here tonight because he does a lot of them endurance races and everything. So he has multiple laps, on this track. But, not in this car, of course. But, with the GT3s and the GT4s and all the other stuff that he runs, in them endurance races will come in play here. At least he knows the layout of the track, which is the number one thing you want to learn when you're racing a track like this one.
Oh, the layout, definitely important. I personally, not really that educated on Le Mans, so I'm still trying to learn it myself up here, but it looks like it'd be a fun track to be out there and hit 200 some miles an hour, have some drafting, have heavy braking points. As you see right there, they get way off course to be able to make those sharp turns. They utilize all that runoff area, and it just makes it really exciting on who's going to push the envelope and how far will they get off track.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. I know I'm not good at road courses, so, but you're right. I mean, you can, manipulate, or however you want to say it, the track by running your tires off a little bit, as we do got the number 11 here making a pit stop. So we do have some vehicles coming in, as it looks like the front runners are, they did hit pit road once already here, but we do got, see here, we got Drew in the 77, he's hitting pit road as of right now. We have Larry looking at hitting pit road. So this is the last pit stop, 6 laps to go, and Larry's actually coming out of his pit stop. So this should be the last sequence for these guys as they can finish out the race now.
No more pit stops from here. Do not want to give up any of that time. As you see, 6 laps to go. And we got to remind people that might be new to this style of racing. 6 laps at this type of track, that's still a long distance. So you don't want to panic too much. You still got to hit your marks. Don't press too much. You got to let other drivers make those mistakes for you to move up. Don't want to be that driver that gets off course here, Robert, because you know what happens. You get off course, you give away a great race, especially when you spent so much time tonight doing good, putting in all that practice all week, and then to have it come down to final laps to go and you go to get off the course, it's got to be the ultimate terrible feeling for a driver that does that.
Oh, most definitely. But, well, we have Sam Dyer back here. He's going to take it over with the next 6 laps to go.
Yeah, thanks guys for covering for me as we are back. Like you said, pit stops have just finished up. Everyone has made their stop and are going to be taking it to the end of this race. A little bit of updates on drivers in the back. We already noted on Douglas Newbigging, Ryan Ferraro, and as well as Matthew Rodriguez having trouble. Other drivers that have been brought in with required damage: Justin Forbes, Cody Reed, Chris Stitz, Bronson Stafford, all with required damage and forced to pit road. This really does hurt Cody Reed, who was 17th in points entering tonight. Needed to have a good run to make sure that he had a chance next week at Bristol to make the championship or have a chance to run in the playoffs after next week at Bristol. It looks like he might be placed in a must-win scenario. There's going to be a couple of drivers, I think, Justin, they're going to be in a must-win scenario heading into next week where it's not going to be an easy cakewalk of a race to win as we go to the last Great Coliseum, as Aaron Smith second, he had a 40-second hold penalty, and he's now on the charge to try to get back inside of our top 10.
Yeah, he's going to try and do everything he can. We saw him before stay out as long as he could to try and get those stage points, which was really important to him. But now he's got to gain back that some 40-second penalty that he had. I mean, he's definitely got speed. It's going to be hard to pick up 40 seconds, but can't rule him out on getting back maybe inside the top 15. Didn't really catch where he was running right there. Wait and see on the ticker. But I know at one point he was back to 10th, and then got up to 8th for the stage points. So right now, one of those drivers that is going to try and climb forward, and we'll see. But you mentioned, Sam, Bristol next week. What a track to end the regular season at. I mean, there will be drivers that know that they need to win, and at a short track, they might not be afraid to use that bumper. It could really lead to some really, really exciting racing and also the potential for a lot of cautions.
It really does have that potential of a lot of cautions. I mean, that's one of those tracks that kind of has been very bipolar. Sometimes it can be a long green flag run. Other times it can be a caution-filled race. But two drivers that have a ton of respect for one another, the teammates from Nightmare Fuel, they are racing against one another. It's Brian P. Johnson, Vincent Sora, and Johnson gets the better run as they enter into the Porsche corners. It's going to be Johnson up to third. And he's now going to be 8 seconds back from Zach Hall in second place, 14.5 seconds back from Gavin Rogers. But making this pass up to third, this is a great run for Johnson, who's trying to refine his momentum, you could say, as the playoffs are just around the corner.
Has to make you wonder, if we get a chance to talk to him, how disappointed he would be in not having the ultimate fast lap in qualifying, because driving through cars on this track, maybe that just cost him some of that time. I mean, 14 seconds is still a great time. Don't want to take anything away from Gavin Rogers, who's been really laying it down to this field, but you just have to wonder how important qualifying is at a track like this for Brian P. Johnson, especially, who seems to have a really fast race pace car.
He really does have the pace, as our leaders are going to be getting by Justin Forbes, who's currently 3 laps down. A couple of drivers that might be racing a little bit harder once they get caught or potentially caught. Is 27th position of Andrew Medlin, 26th of Tom Bourne. A little bit too far, I think, for Gavin Rogers to catch up to Tom Bourne, but Medlin, who's been having a rough race here tonight, started off in the first 3 laps at Indianapolis corner, where he had some pushes and shoves that kind of set him back. Medlin, who came into tonight as, I believe, 18th in points, and he was 18th in points, 25 points back from the cutoff line. Another driver who needed a great run here tonight. Not really showing it, but it's Brian McCann, who's the main driver of note that everyone's kind of watching out. And McCann, I talked about how some of these drivers that are outside of our top 16 in points, all they needed was a top 15 finish, and it's exactly what Brian McCann's aiming for. He's currently 15th at the moment.
Anytime I ever raced at a road course, I always took your advice. Just aim for that top 15 finish. Let other people make the mistakes. Stay on course. That was always the most challenging thing. Just stay on course. these drivers tonight will look back and say, if I just stayed on course, I might have been that guy who finished 13th and got some valuable points and got myself into the playoffs and had a chance to go fight for that championship, because you never know what can happen in the playoffs. Drivers get aggressive, mistakes happen, and before you know it, you keep advancing to the next rounds, and you get out there and get that super respect from everyone else and make it to those final rounds. It can be really, really rewarding for drivers.
Here's your Andrew Medlin cam as he's focusing on hitting all of these corners. Here's getting through Indianapolis. When you're by yourself also, you're able to really hit your marks. I feel like a lot more consistent for some drivers. They love when they're behind, not around anyone. They can really focus on their own laps, their own positionings. They can see their brake marking points perfectly. Other drivers love the chase. When they see a driver in front of them, it kind of helps them drive a little bit faster. Yeah, but for Medlin, he's in no man's land. There is no one really close behind or in front. He's got to run these 8.5-mile laps, kind of just solo. And it's got to be a weird feeling driving on this big of a track and not seeing anyone for multiple laps in a row.
It can make you really easily lose focus also at the same time, because you don't see someone up there starting to slow down, and then maybe all of a sudden you think, oh, I'm going, and before you know it, you're going 180 off into one of these corners. So it could also really be a challenge that way as well. But like you said, drivers, they have their preferences. Every driver likes to have a certain preference. I'm sure all of them wish that their preference was I was out front and didn't have to worry about anyone passing me, but that can only be one driver, and that right now is still the 75 machine of Gavin Rogers up front. Nothing else really has changed. It's about 7.5 seconds out there on cruise control. As you see right here, you're going to hit those big red rumble strips, kind of get the car really upset there. Not sure if he got the penalty, but he really slowed down to regain that car control.
Really did have to get that roll up for himself. As Medlin again on his own, focusing on each and every corner as well as he can. A couple of battles that are still out on track currently for position. Is the battling going on? Got a good battle for 12th, 13th, and 14th you see on screen. That's Trent Jump, who lap 1 lost over 10 positions for himself. Now has been able to gain at least 5-7 positions of those spots back from that lap 1 incident. There's one driver smoking, plumed, and that's Justin Forbes. Issues for the 4 machine. He was multiple laps down, and he was not able to get through that corner cleanly. And here's exactly what happened to the 4. Just went too wide, hit, and oh my goodness, overcorrected right into the tire barrier, blown engine. He'd been having a rough night. Then gets off course, off the racing line, and then toes to pit road.
Really nice there. They was able to get it off the racing line and not have any drivers come around that corner and make contact. So big shout out to him for being able to do that. As you see right here, we're just going to pick up another battle. We've been picking up these little battles all night, even here with 4 laps to go, about 40 minutes into this race, 45 minutes into this race. Even though how big this track is, there's still cars all over the track that are kind of giving us a nice battle. I mean, this right here for 6th and 7th position, Nick Crawford just driving great. Raced a truck race with him at Watkins Glen where he did really nice. You see him doing another great job here, 6th position. But Tom Senchek right behind him, just running a solid race there, 31 seconds off the pace. But considering Gavin Rogers has been putting down 1.5, 2 seconds lap faster than all these guys, I mean, they're still staying at a pretty decent, fast blistering pace.
Yeah, they've been putting down very quick times. Again, around the 4-minute window has been majority of the field. Everyone that's been inside of our top 7 have been almost a 4-minute flat time. A little bit fluctuation between a 4-minute and 1 second to a 4-minute flat has been the difference between 2nd all the way back to 7th. Gavin Rogers has been the only driver who's consistently been under 4 minutes all race long. He just continues on with that pace. But this battle, again, that we've been watching on screen for 6th and 7th, Tom Senchak, this is one of those races where maybe, again, talk about other drivers in the field that are looking for maybe reset moments for themselves or refine their momentum before this race is over, before the regular season's over. That's exactly where this 26 is at. This is a good momentum swinging race. Had a good performance, looking for a top 10, and as well, going to be having some solid momentum as he's trying to run down Nick Crawford, who's slowly inching away from this 26 machine.
195 miles an hour. You saw it on that screen. I know early in this race we saw 203, so that's kind of the difference with the draft disappearing. These drivers aren't as close as they were before, but and you also have to wonder how much fuel difference on there, if that's going to play in the factor. Maybe they're on a bit more fuel they decide to take to have that handling straightaway, all different strategies drivers would take. But right here, just another downshift down in the third, second gear, going to go down in the first gear at 82 miles an hour. You saw him get down there. That's pretty impressive. Getting down in the first gear, still going that fast without locking up the wheels. So these drivers are really driving these cars. It's fun to watch. It's great to listen to the sounds on the inboard camera. Right here, you're going to see them probably get back up there in the fifth gear. How much more speed can they carry? 180, 181. There's the fifth gear. See if he gets to over 190. Still going strong, 195, 196. I mean, Sam, they're still hitting big speeds. I saw 198 out of there.
They certainly are hitting some massive speeds. Also, update of a major driver that was inside of our top 10 out of this race with a drop with lots of packets. That will be the 77 of Drew Jua. Once again, another issue strikes Drew Jua this season. I know he's been having a couple of moments where he's disconnected. He's missed a couple of races, and this could give another chance for some of those drivers that saw Brian McCann running consistent. Well, this might put another spot on the win on chances to be grabbed next week at Bristol. It might not just be a battle for one spot in the playoffs, maybe a battle for two.
Hate to see it for the 77, like you said, happening again to him. Hopefully he's able to get that fixed, and if he is able to make it into the playoffs, you would hate to see that happen during a playoff type race because it could just ruin it. I mean, you only got two races per round, so having a drop in one of those races, I mean, that could really just put you in a bad spot. So hopefully he is able to get it fixed. But right now, I mean, Sam, when you were gone for a little bit, Robert and I were talking about this battle here between the 13 and 67. It seems like they cannot get away from each other. It's just Cedric Hunter's been hunting the 67, just not able to get around him. I mean, talk about it, the braking points. I mean, this is a huge track, over 8 miles, like you said, but only so many braking points, passing opportunities. Cedric Hunter's got to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, trying to find those advantage points. And the hard part is, when do you find the advantage points? Are they in the last sector, which is a lot harder to make passes because of how narrow it can be? Or is it in the first two sectors where there's a lot more of an open road, a lot more open space to go for passes for yourself? And it looks like for Larry Yingling, he's been a lot more better on the defensive side of these passing opportunity zones. But Cedric Hunter is one of the closer times that he's been to tackle for this spot in this position to try to move up into 8th spot. Also update, Drew Jua has been able to reconnect, but he does have a holding penalty, 40 seconds holding penalty. So even when he gets into the car, he'll be sitting there for a while. He's going to go multiple laps down. You hate to see that for the 77, again, who was inside of our top 10 before this incident of disconnecting happened. As a little bit deking back and forth, another Lucky Ducks driver of note. It's Brian Noel, John Forbes racing against one another. This is the battle for 13th, and that's on screen.
Seems like this John Forbes machine has been on screen tonight quite often. It seems like he's always having a really good battle. He's just a little bit up, getting in that grass, kicking up the tires, the dirt, the grass clippings. Don't want to do too much of that, just a little bit on there on the tires. Right there, going through the rumble strips, all important to make sure you don't go too much. You see right there, the 11 of Forbes kind of kick out a little bit. I'm assuming grabbing the gear, trying to put down the power, just gets those cars a little loose. But right here, you get a good sense of how important this draft is. Will the 11 of Forbes be able to do anything, or is he just going to have to right there, stay right there and follow along?
For now, follows along. We're getting ready to go into the chicane and set up for this pass. Hard braking zone, a little bit of a puff of smoke, locking it up is John Forbes, gets right on the back bumper. And those are those moments where you really test the fate, when you see the true grit of drivers on the no fear zone that some drivers have of, if you make a slight, go a little bit over that limit, you can be completely taken out, driver ahead of you. Other times you are going to be able to, for some, they're on the more passive approach. They wait for the driver ahead to make a mistake. For John Forbes, it looks like he's trying to set up a way to go for a pass here on the 07.
Yeah, he's really all over the 07 of Brian Noel. And as a driver, that's just, it makes you look up in that mirror, and then do you potentially miss a spot, miss a braking point? As you see the 11 again come out of the corner, he's really trying to get down that power. He's got a good run here. Is he going to pull out, do anything, dive to the inside? Let's see. He's sucking up right behind Noel. Is Forbes going to make a move right here under passengers? He's going to choose to stay with him. You see the backfire coming out. Noel goes down low to protect, but right here, Noel still able to take the advantage and stay in front.
And this is such a weird corner. It's kind of a double corner that you go in, a slightly grazing into the first section of that Mozon corner and the very heartbreaking zone where you have the gravel off the exit. And for John Forbes, he's got a couple of more great passing opportunities. We've also seen major mistakes in these spots as drivers ramp up to speed, not able to slow down, maybe get a lack of awareness. It happened a lot earlier on in the race, a lot more understanding of how much speed you can carry forward through the Indianapolis corner. And for Brian Noel, hits his marks, continues to stay connected and defending up front, and locks up the brake just slightly. And that's the mistake John Forbes was looking for, but Forbes makes a similar mistake. That's going to be costly for the 11 and the 07.
How many times as a driver, as a fan, do you see, oh, he makes a mistake, oh, the guy behind also gets into the wall? I feel like we see that so often. These drivers are so pushing everything. They see the guy in front pushing, they think they could push those specs soon, and before you know it, just not able to run out. They run out of real estate. But these two drivers are just put on such a great battle right here, but also being super respectful. They're not leaning on one another, but they are really racing. I mean, we have the 2 laps to go already, so I mean, they got to figure this out. Right now, this is under 2 to go, so this race, I mean, it's a big track. They still got about 8 minutes of racing, but running out of time fast if they got to make these moves.
Certainly are, and as they are entering the last couple of spots, I don't believe they're going to have a chance to really go for a pass. Just John Forbes is too far back. It's going to be one of our last chances to really give a major shout out to a major sponsor for us, for the WSSR. As we have not been able to really shout them out just yet with all the complications of running around. We want to say thank you to Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack, the trophy provider for Season 9, and also has been a trophies provider since Season 4, 5, 6, 7, and here for 8 and 9. It's been awesome to see the championship rings that initially were being given out to our season champions. And the last 2 seasons have been an actual trophy. And if you're looking for a trophy with fantasy football just around the corner, we have pre-made and also custom-made trophies of your choosing. Belts, rings, trophies, and more. Head on over to TrophySmack.com today, as well as check out the Wall Smack selection, where you can put a custom picture on a metal plate that can be placed on the wall with a magnet-safe mounting system or with a stand on your desk or shelf. When purchasing from Trophy Smack, remember to use the promo code WSSR Smack for 10% off. Laps are ticking away. Our leaders are feeling confident. We got about still a half a track to go for Gavin Rogers before he takes the white flag. But Justin, we haven't really shown the 75 a lot here tonight, but he has been up front dominating so much. The lead is almost up to 10 seconds.
Yeah, the driver, he's probably right now shooting. He wants that 10-second, he wants to be able to say he beat someone by 10 seconds. I mean, he's just been fast all night. But you have to get a huge shout out to Zach Hall, still out there battling hard, trying to make it under 10 seconds. I mean, as a driver in second place, he's probably thinking, you know what? If I could stay within 10 seconds, I could go back, do my homework, learn, and see where I could pick up a couple tenths here, a couple tenths there, and stay closer next time. And Brian P. Johnson in 3rd place. We talked about him qualifying a little bit further back, driving up into 3rd. He was one of the nice movers of the race. Vincent Sora's been pretty much top 5 all night. Christopher Norris been solid in that 5th position. I mean, these drivers, you got to give them a good shout out. They're doing what they need to. I mean, they're getting the finishes they want. That's the most important. They're getting the points. And to get the points on the road course, especially a big road course like this, that's the most important. But still, they still got one more lap to go. They've got about 5 more minutes out on track. They don't want to risk making any mistakes. So it's really important right now. Do not mess up on these final laps.
You absolutely do not. Most of the top 10 drivers, Snowy Desert Racing, Nightmare Fuel Racing drivers, and then you've got the solo drivers for teams. You have Next Level's driver Gavin Rogers dominating here tonight, as you see our top 5 of Gavin Rogers, Zach Hall, Brian P. Johnson, Vincent Sora, Christopher Norris. Top 5 not looking like they're going to be making any changes unless some major mistakes are made. But it's been primarily Snowy Desert as well as Nightmare Fuel that have been the drivers up front. Also, other teams of note has been Lucky Ducks that have also had some good showings up front, and Yin Yang's driver of Larry Yingling has been inside of our top 10 as the white flag presented by Freaky Fast Broadcasting is out for the 75 of Gavin Rogers. Just one more lap to go. The gap is over 10.5 seconds, and he just has to hit his marks. 38 corners, 8.5 miles left for Rogers to take his 3rd win of the season. He already grabbed his 5th pole earlier on. And it's really been maybe for 2 laps. A question of maybe Zach had a chance to win. After our first 2 laps, it has been all Gavin Rogers up front.
You see right here as we watch him, just very smooth. Don't see the car do anything other than just be fast and smooth. And that's just what's so impressive. These drivers out there, they know they're fast and they know they're smooth. They're all trying to figure out how is he able to run about a second faster per lap. They're going to go watch, learn, get the film out. They know that some of these drivers are thinking, if I could just replicate that next time, I can stay right there with him and put on a different type of race for them. But I mean, they'll have to do the film work for sure. They'll be studying the 75.
Absolutely. That's if we come back next season, as this will be our last road course of the season. And Gavin Rogers going to aim to win 2 of the 3 road course races, as the other road course winner being Zach Hall, and then the bonus race won by Trenton Jump at the Daytona road course. But Gavin Rogers winning at the more unique tracks that you never see stock cars go to. Long Beach was such a unique course where Vincent Soar had a chance after the Gavin Rogers mistakes. But Rogers, when he enters a track where you just know he's leaps and bounds faster than everyone else, there's just no touching him. This 75, when he's at full song and he's hitting his groove, I just don't see anyone in this league that really can touch him at the road courses. But the one thing for Gavin Rogers, there are no more road courses from here on out. He's got to be quick at the mile courses, the more intermediate courses that we're heading towards. And also when we hit the playoffs, hope that his luck's there when we head to Talladega to start the playoffs.
Yeah, it's always a really fun battle between the road course experts and the oval experts. And obviously Gavin Rogers, he's definitely got the road course expert down, but he's also got down that oval. We see him run very fast on the ovals week in and week out. Every week, always up front, just an ultra talented driver. So one of those ones that in the playoffs will be really fun to watch at all the types of tracks that we go to. But coming to this final lap, I mean, 11.3 seconds. Can't say it enough. Got to give him a huge shout out. Just putting on a really good clinic. Anyone that wants to get good at road coursing, go back, watch this driver, learn from him, and you will be improving your road course racing.
Yeah, improving. Mimicking might be difficult. I've watched Gavin Rogers in plenty of different leagues, and he is always, every time we go to a road course, everyone tries to, oh, his braking points here. Okay, his brake bias, his master cylinders are like this, and they try to copy as well as they can, but the risk of Gavin Rogers maybe willing to brake a little bit later or willing to get on the throttle sooner, it just always rewards the 75, and it's so hard to find that same duplication of how to run exactly as he does. But certainly little notes that you can grab, but you're still risk are being placed for Gavin Rogers. Saw him graze over the grass. It's like riding on the limit has been the trend here tonight. If you're gonna be fast, you have to put your car in dangerous situations, and Rogers has done that all season long, trying to be the fastest driver every track we go to. But here tonight, as he goes through the final chicanes, through the 4 chicanes, it has been all Gavin Rogers. And here tonight for the Lariat Productions Grand Prix at the Le Mans, the 75 grabs his 3rd win of the season. Congratulations, the Sundance driver. Rogers wins again and gonna be a 2 out of the 3 road course winner.
Sundance piece of machine gets it done. As you see, Zach Hall, and now he's also officially finished in this race. Brian P. Johnson going to be really close to being the next one. But Gavin Rogers, what a dominating race. Can't wait to talk to him, see what he needs to tell us. Maybe give us some tips on what he was doing out there tonight. And all these viewers are going to be dying to hear from him. I know they can't wait. I personally can't myself.
As here's one of the last couple of battles that are going on track, as Cedric Hunter, Larry Yingling, final 4 chicane to go through, and Yingling trying to stay clean, and he'll defend the Hello Kitty machine and stay in 8th position. Other drivers that are racing forward is John Forbes Jr. was able to find his way by Brian Noel as they were going through the Indianapolis section of the course. Final chicanes. Will Brian Noel be willing to take a late diving move with these final 2 chicanes to go through before the race is over? This is to see who's going to be finishing in the 13th position. The 07 wants a clean pass, but our winner from last week defends for 1 chicane. He's got 1 more to defend for this 13th position. Hits 1 rumble strip, hits the next, and John Forbes will find himself getting 13th position. All the other spots look to be pretty solidified as Edward Short Jr. went for a little bit of a spin as drivers have already finished the race, are having their fun. And one of them for sure is having the most is Gavin Rogers in the 75 Sundance Pizza Machine. Congratulations to Gavin Rogers and to second place finisher of Zach Hall, third place finisher of Brian P. Johnson. We'll talk to those three and a spotlight driver right after this. Congratulations to Gavin Rogers. Remember, get the poster race show in just a few. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the WSSR Cup Series for race number 11 of the season. It was your Lariat Productions Grand Prix at Le Mans, and your winner, unofficially, is Gavin Rogers. You might be wondering, well, why is 26th position finisher there? Well, Gavin didn't wait until the official race was officially over. He crossed the line as the winner because he did burnouts, went backwards. iRacing disqualified him while other drivers were still racing. But unofficially, the admins are still going to talk about it. But unofficially, your winner still is Gavin Rogers. So we'll go down to victory lane and talk to the 75. Gavin, unofficially the winner of tonight's race. I know you didn't mean to get disqualified there. But man, how are you feeling after that pure dominance that you had here tonight?
Oh man, I'm feeling good. Also feel like I just got done with a workout and I'm sweating like a banshee. But I don't know why I decided to wear sweatpants and a long sleeve. Probably the worst decision I made. But overall, man, it was a good race. I wasn't sure what to think coming into it. I know Zach was about 2 tenths, I think, off of me last night in a short practice that we had, and I know he's really good on road courses, and I know a lot of other guys are too. I knew I didn't. I knew I couldn't make mistakes tonight, and I knew I had to put down a good lap for quali. And luckily, I was able to get those done and pull off an amazing race. I'm really happy about tonight. Just incredible to get that third win of the season, and I believe the fifth pole, maybe fourth of the season as well, which is awesome. And getting stage points is exactly what I needed to catch up in the standings. I don't know if I'll be able to catch up to the Vincent for the regular season championship, but at least I'll be close and I'll be pretty well set for the playoffs.
Hey, Gavin, congrats on getting the win tonight. I mean, you put on a show. Just if you could walk the viewers through, like when you're out here running an over 8 mile type track, 38 turns, I mean, how do you prepare for it? Like, is it just muscle memory and knowing where to hit your points and breaking points? I mean, what makes you so good?
Yeah, muscle memory is a huge thing for sure. Just getting into a rhythm at this track because how big it is. I had to get a decent bit of practice. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but I probably got about 20-25 laps total, which is still a lot. 8 miles. I mean, that's quite a bit. I don't know the math on that, how much that is total, but it's for sure a lot. And yeah, man, just being consistent and not making any mistakes. I know there's a lot of places that kind of sneaks up on you. That'll give you a slowdown. So you had to kind of find those spots and try to stay away from that. And just overall consistency is key in getting into a rhythm.
Well, Gavin, with this unofficial win for yourself, it gives you your third of the season, most of anyone so far. What are your thoughts heading into next week at Bristol, and how do you feel like next week could prepare you going into the playoffs?
Man, I don't think I'm really the greatest at Bristol, to be honest. I just know I have to keep it clean. I don't want to make any mistakes, especially like I did early in the season with the 71. Luckily, he hasn't been upset about it still. I'm glad that's kind of out of the way, and yeah, just keeping a clean reputation, I guess. Just not getting involved in anything.
Well, we cannot wait, Gavin, to see how you're going to perform next weekend into the playoffs. But for tonight, the floor is now yours for any more shout out.
Yeah, I just want to shout out the Sundance Pizza on the car tonight. So awesome to put this car in victory lane again. This great red, red, black and white car. I think this car is undefeated now, so I just got to keep racing this paint scheme. Hopefully, it'll keep me with good luck. But also want to shout out the admins for putting me in here. It's such an honor to race in this league. Shout out Race Control, doing a great job, and shout out you guys as well for doing a great broadcast.
Well, thanks for giving us such a great show, Gavin, to call. That will be your winner here tonight, unofficially the 75 of Gavin Rogers and that Sundance Pizza machine. Enjoy this one, Gavin, and good luck next week.
Appreciate it, guys.
As we move from victory lane, we go down into second place, and I know that on our graphic it's going to say winner, but unofficially going to be second place for Zach Hall. Zach, what a run for yourself here tonight. It certainly was a different race than it was almost 2 years ago, the first time that you ran in season 5 here at Le Mans. But how are you feeling after your performance here this evening?
Pretty happy with it. I mean, Gavin was, untouchable. So congrats to him. That was wild. I think he got disqualified for his burnouts at the race. We'll have to go back and look at that and fix it all up. But yeah, he was undeniable tonight. He was the fastest guy, just like he was at Long Beach. So he on road courses, man, he's very, very good in this car, and I'm very, very impressed by what he could do. Even because I talked to him about it. This is the first time he's ever been here, so this is a track I have lots of laps on, and I mean in different cars. We raced the one race back in like season 5 a couple years ago, so we have that little bit of experience. But the cars are so different now that you really can't take too much from that. But personally, I came in tonight after seeing his lap times, and I was like, all right, let's just focus on being the second best out of everybody. We're hoping he makes a major mistake and just gives it up to me, because he was on a different level. So happy with what we accomplished, gain points on the points lead, and we'll go on to Bristol for the season finale.
Zach, great job on the second place. I mean, you're definitely a road course expert yourself. I have to think back to Daytona. So my question would be like, what makes this track different than Daytona? Like that you were able to in Daytona be able to be the one that was out there putting on the clinic, and then tonight Gavin was the one who went up you. Is it just different braking points, different, like you don't got the banking to deal with? It's just what makes you better at Daytona versus tonight with Gavin Rogers?
That's an interesting thing. I really don't know. I would love to see his data, like to see his telemetry and all that stuff, just to see what he was doing differently. I noticed really he was very good in the hard braking zones. I don't know if he was just braking deeper. I mean, this track is like a risk versus reward track. You got a lot of slowdowns out there. You got a lot of things you got to avoid, and locking up is like a major thing that you really want to avoid. And kind of the ability to do that is either risk it all and go for it or not. And Daytona, I think I just felt a little more comfortable being able to risk pushing the corners. And here tonight, I kind of wanted to conserve. I just wanted to make sure I didn't make any major mistakes, because I mean, I'm sure a lot of people were not happy with how many slowdowns they got, because they're everywhere on this track. You got to really keep it in between the lines, and that was kind of the mission. And we did a good job. I never got to slow down. I did have a few like mistakes here, locking up here and there, but once I got like a gap behind me, and I kind of knew Gavin was in a class of his own, I kind of just settled in and just backed up every single corner and just made sure, okay, let's just take home second tonight, and we'll head to Bristol.
I mean, Zach, this season, we've seen you've grabbed yourself 2 wins this season so far. We're just a couple of races away before the playoffs begin. What is it like having this strong of a regular season and trying to prepare for the playoffs that are so close from us?
This is probably one of the best regular seasons I've had ever at WSSR personally. I mean, coming into the season before it started, I didn't even want to race. I'm going to be straight up honest with everybody. I thought I was washed up. There was nothing I could do with this car, and all of a sudden things have clicked. I don't think my confidence has ever been higher, and especially like on the ovals. Usually it's the road courses that I always have like infinite confidence, but it's really been the ovals this season that I don't know. There's so many races I felt like I could have won. I feel like I could have like 4 or 5 wins already at this point. Just didn't get the the execution right in all those races. So, going into Bristol to finish it all out, that's a track I struggle at in the past. So if I can just go in there and have a good week and set myself up for a good playoff run, because you get playoff points for being in the top 5 in the regular season. So, if we can go get the regular season championship, that'll give us 6 instead of 4 for being second. That would be a good bonus, of course. But at the end of the day, I really can't complain. I feel like confidence is at an all-time high, and it's really anybody's game when we head into the playoffs here in 2 weeks. I really cannot wait to see how it's all going to shake out.
We cannot either. Zach, congratulations on second place. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
Yeah, first and foremost, shout out to Gavin. That dude was unreal. So congrats to him on getting another win. I think he's the first person to get 3 wins this season. So that's really impressive, and he's going to be a threat once we get to the playoffs for sure. So congrats to him. He's really, really impressing me once he's came over here. I've commentated on him before, and I wasn't sure exactly how good he was, and he's shown it this season that he is the legit deal, and it's definitely fun to race around. Also, shout out to our sponsor here at TrophySmack.com. If you like fantasy football, make sure you go check them out. I think we're also going to be doing some fantasy football here upcoming soon here at WSSR, so that will be fun to see how that all shakes out with some of the guys here. But yeah, go check out TrophySmack.com if you're into any fantasy sports. They really do anything. They got all types of rewards, championship belts, rings. I mean, really anything you could want there. So make sure you go check them out, guys. And then shout out to you guys up in the booth for all the work y'all do week in and week out. It's always a pleasure to go back and watch it all. And then last but not least, shout out to my teammates at Snow Air Desert Racing. I think we had a great points night, and hopefully we gained a little bit on the Nightmare Fuel crew, so we can try to go close in for that team championship.
Well, that'll be your unofficial second place finisher of Zach Hall coming out of tonight's race. Congratulations, Zach, on this run and finish, and good luck next week at Bristol.
Thank you, guys.
As we move from second place, we go down to our unofficial third place position. Again, on our graphic, it will show second, but unofficially is third. We have Brian P. Johnson with us. Brian, a great run for yourself. You came away second here the last time we ran back in season 5. Tonight, you come away third. I mean, how are you feeling about tonight's performance at Le Mans once again?
Pretty good. That race is tiring. But I love I love the track by itself. Le Mans, I always love running a race at Le Mans, but I like this car and track combination. Next gen car feels really good at Le Mans. It's just a really fun race to do. Very tiring. But feel pretty good about third. I figured that's where I was going to finish. I knew that Gavin was going to be gone lap 2, and that Zach was going to be a solid second place runner. And if I was there, maybe I'd be able to catch him slipping or anything. But then then I messed up qualifying really bad and messed up my second lap and started out there 12th, so I had to deal with the traffic and survive, and um, lost a lot of bit of time behind other people, but I finished where I felt like I should have been, so that's all right with me.
Hey, Brian, congrats on getting that third place finish. You kind of talked about the qualifying effort. If you go back, watch the replay of the race, you'll see I brought it up a few times. I mean, it definitely hurt you because obviously you started back in 12th and had to drive up through the field. But I mean, do you think if you had a top 3, top 5 starting position, maybe you just had a chance to maybe get around Gavin or Zach in the first couple corners and maybe you could have defended them? Or like, do you think you could have changed your race?
No, honestly, I don't think so. I have a pretty good feeling I would not have been able to keep up with Gavin. That dude, like he has found the speed and he doesn't make mistakes. That's kind of the biggest thing in this car at road courses is like he can't make mistakes. Mistakes are killer, and Gavin doesn't make mistakes. But I know with Zach, like my pace was roughly exactly the same as his, and he's definitely gotten much better in the last couple of seasons about like minimizing the mistakes. But if I was filling up his mirror, maybe I could have forced him to make some mistakes and got around him and been able to hold him off. But uh, like I said, I knew going in that I was probably a third place car, and you know, even myself made plenty of mistakes tonight. So that's getting around Zach. That's assuming that I don't make any mistakes. So no, I don't think the race would have played out any differently if I had qualified third or fourth.
And Brian, with tonight's run, it's another top 5 added to your tally here this season. I know you're still searching for that win in season 9. How do you feel like you though can take this season and try to carry the momentum with the playoffs so close in front of us?
Um, hopefully I can start stringing together some good finishes. I season's kind of been a bit of a roller coaster. I've had some pretty good finishes, some top fives, but then I've also had some pretty terrible races. I mean, at Dover, I blew the right front tire with 3 to go. So, you know, it's like, uh, week to week, I have no idea how I'm going to be in the car at certain tracks. Like next week, I think we're going to Bristol, and I'm thoroughly concerned about burning a right front there too. Um, so, looking at the playoff schedule, you know, some of those tracks should be my strengths. Who knows? But then I look at tracks like, well, one Talladega. Who knows what's going to happen there? And then North Wilkesboro is kind of the main one that I'm concerned with. I love North Wilkesboro as a track, but racing it, I'm pretty terrible. So that's the one I have circled for all the wrong reasons.
Well, we cannot wait to see how you're going to perform into the playoffs after next week at Bristol, Brian. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
I got to thank everybody that tuned in tonight. And you guys, as always, for putting on a great show. Um, this race isn't something you usually see, and hopefully it was a good one to watch. And got to thank all the league drivers that came out tonight as well. We've had good turnout the whole season, and especially on road courses. Road courses sometimes see lower numbers, but we've kept those up. So thank them. Thank the admin team. Thank Steve Benjamin for helping us run this thing as well. And I got to thank Trophy Smack as always. And that's pretty much it.
Well, that will be your unofficial third place finisher here tonight of Brian P. Johnson. Brian, enjoy this one, and good luck next week at Bristol.
Thanks, sir.
As we move along from our interviews, sadly, we're only going to be doing 3 as I kind of get a rush out of here, but we will be taking a look here shortly at our unofficial results. Again, they're going to be slightly off from where we've had the finishing results just because of the, again, weirdly disqualification that was given to Gavin Rogers. The race wasn't officially over. There were still drivers racing on track while Gavin Rogers was celebrating in the first and second sector of the course. And because of him doing burnouts, going backwards, he actually got disqualified from the race, which is why he got bumped down from the lead all the way to 26. So all these positions will move back at least one, or could stay where they are right now. Admins are going to talk about it. Most likely they're going to give Gavin Rogers back the win. So unofficially, it should be Gavin Rogers with the win, and then it would be Zach Hall, Brian P. Johnson, Vincent Sora, Christopher Norris, Nick Crawford, Tom Sinchek, Larry Yingling, Cedric Hunter, and what should now become our new top 10 finisher of Edward Sherwood Jr., who finishes 9th on our board, but will be pushed back. But the rest of the field, Justin, as we'll take a look at it, I know a lot of drivers had their ups and downs of how this race went. Some would like this race back. I think Trenton Jump, the big one, after his lap 1 incident, but everyone else, kind of a hope for the best moment, and some of the drivers got what they needed, others didn't.
You see right there at the top, the 12th and 13th place, they put on I felt like these drivers were just connected all night. Forbes and Noel put on some great battles. And Brian McCann, it was a quiet night from him. Brian Kelly, we didn't really get a chance to talk about him. Came home with a 15th place finish, though. That's still nice. See Jared Hughes in 16th GT we talked about earlier in the race. And just dropping down a little bit, we got Carl Pooler, we didn't really talk too much about, but came home in 21st position. Tyler Dengler, 23rd. Drew Joe, how about that? 22nd, even with the disconnect, was able to come back. Tom Bourne, 25th. Right there. Driver 26. I didn't really talk about him at all, Sam. Did he have a good race? The guy in 26, Gavin Rogers? No, all jokes aside, we know he did great. Just right there, that's where iRacing put him in. But as we know, dominate this race, got the win there tonight unofficially. Cody Reed down there in 29th. He needed a good race tonight. 29th, probably not what he wants, but could have been way worse. Could have been one of those drivers that did not finish, so at least he was able to get out there. And you see right there, Donnie Cochran, we saw some of his accidents that were some exciting moments to watch. And then 35th, Douglas Newbig, he has to be the most disappointed driver leaving tonight. Barely got any laps in and really hurt his points.
He only was able to get 1 lap in before his night was over for Douglas Newbig, and a frustrating start. Because again, suspended for 2 races, then has had a kind of a poor showing the last couple of weeks. It's been tough for Douglas Newbig, and his hopes and chances to make the playoffs might turn into a must-win. There's a few drivers that might be in that must-win window heading into next week at Bristol. But for tonight, again, unofficially, the win goes to the 75 of Gavin Rogers. I want to say congratulations to him. But moving forward, we are about to be having some great racing action. Here's our upcoming schedule for next week. Yes, next week. We're back to 4 races being streamed here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting Monday through Thursday. Starting things off with the ISRC Truck Series. We had some big numbers of viewerships that got to see John Forbes winning the first race of the season this past Monday. You don't want to miss this upcoming Monday. They go to Homestead for the start of race number 2. Then a brand new league we are excited to be partnering up with. It is the Challenger Racing League. That will be our Tuesday Next Gen series. Then we're right back here next Wednesday for the WSSR, and then having their charity race. Always a fun race to call. We got to call the charity fundraising race at Daytona last season for the Doghouse Cup Series. They're actually going to be at Atlanta for this fundraising race. That's going to be this upcoming Thursday. Don't want to miss any of the racing action. It will all be here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Remember to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification button to be notified when we go live here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. But next week, don't want to miss out. Going to be at Bristol. But Justin, any final thoughts before we call it a night here at Le Mans?
Well, it was exciting here for Le Mans. Me being my first race, really knowing this track. I know it's an historic track, especially for all the overseas people that watch all the sports car racing. Me being more of an oval guy never really got to experience this track, but wow, I got to tell you, when you said 38 corners, I was like, that is so impressive that drivers could actually just have the muscle memory and the talent to know how to handle each corner, each track. But Sam, I tell you what, going 200 miles an hour, that was exciting at the road course, and seeing those brakes glowing in the daytime, they were working on the cars, gives me a whole new appreciation for a track like this. Really exciting to watch. Next week, we're going to get back to Bristol. That's going to be fabulous to watch. Multi-grooves, drivers high, low, medium. It's going to be a really exciting race again next week, and can't wait to see. It'll be here shortly.
You do not want to miss next week. It's going to be a good one to watch. But for us, thank you so much to all the viewers that stuck with us. I know we had a couple of technical issues that popped up, but for those that stayed throughout the whole broadcast, we appreciate you sticking with us this evening for race number 11. Being in the books, your Larry Art Productions Grand Prix at Le Mans winner being Gavin Rogers and the Sundance Pizza Machine. It was a pleasure to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Justin Malarkey, as well as Robert Moyer Jr. running all the production in the background, and for everyone else that helps out here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you so much for joining with us, and hopefully you enjoyed your racing action here on Wednesday night. Can't wait for more racing action on Wednesday as we head to the last race of the regular season. It's the last great Coliseum. Bristol is our last destination for the regular season for the WSSR Season 9. Cannot wait for it. Who will be inside of the playoffs? Who won't be in the playoffs? We won't know until the checkered flag flies because of the drop races. It's going to be a fun one to watch. Don't want to miss it. But for us up at the booth, want to see more racing action before Wednesday? We got you covered Monday, ISRC Truck Series Racing. It's Homestead. It's been traditionally the last race of the season, but we're going to start out to see who will be the front runner to watch out for this season. Don't want to miss it. We'll see you on Monday for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.